scrolling across the bottom, the Osler and Pure Guidance office hours, something that we'll be talking about a little bit today with Rana, as she has been there. Every Tuesday from 10 to 1, you can come in, just get some advice, sit down, and just blurt out anything that you want to learn. It doesn't really matter. It's a good place for entrepreneurs just to come and get some help, because it's a journey you don't have to take alone. So the sign up is at the bottom there, Calgary Events. The link will be in the comments shortly here. But what I do want to start talking about is beauty. And with the founder, what was the title on your thing yesterday? The beauty queen of clean technology? Was that what I saw on your Zoom yesterday, Rana?
Super close. It's the beauty of clean technology.
Oh, the beauty of clean. I was loving it. I was like, oh, I like that tagline. That's a great tagline. But Rana, the founder of Solis, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having us. How are you?
Oh, I mean, other than I want to, get outside and start playing some ball and have our girls play some softball outdoors. Other than that, I'm great.
We're close. We're close. Calgary's just having a moment.
Yeah, another mid-April moment, right? Hey, I want to dive right in here, and I love your founding story. I mean, your family has a lifetime of working in the beauty industry and the salon industry, so I can see where your passion came from for looking at doing something independent on your own. So please share how you found this passion for Solis and how the company was founded.
Yeah, so growing up in Calgary and having parents that owned hair salons throughout Calgary, you were always part of the business. You were, everything from folding towels to experiencing the customer service, the customer service side. And then ultimately I went and got licensed in hair and makeup. And one of the best parts about it was that I wanted to also go on and do my science degree through the University of Calgary. And the story sort of came up on how do we bridge healthcare, which is one of my passions, and makeup, and actually bring about a hospital-grade sanitation device, which we saw during COVID that wasn't really, we were the industry that got shut down the first ones because we are the ones that touch our clients physically, and the last ones to open. And we just I saw an opportunity there when it comes to, sanitizing our very delicate, most very expensive tools like makeup brushes.
So let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I know there's kind of two different markets that you're eventually going to be in, but I mean, we've gotten to know each other over the last, maybe just a little over a year. And I've watched your company grow and evolve and all the different changes. And we'll talk about that. But why don't you kind of, like when you said the average, makeup artist or things like has over 40 brushes. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, again, as a guy who uses one shampoo to clean my hair and face and beard, it's kind of, to me, that's fascinating. So why don't you kind of share a little bit about, the industry itself?
So the industry, we are regulated by a provincial healthcare system. For us Calgarians, and Albertans, it's Alberta Healthcare Services. And so we have to the number of brushes that we have is each little bristle, has a purpose. And we, throughout our day, have clients, and we have to make sure that they don't interact between client to client. So if I use a brush on you per se, let's say I'm applying sunscreen, which is a great way to apply sunscreen using a makeup brush. We would have to not be able to use it until I have completely washed and rinsed it the traditional way. But with Solis, we're able to actually sanitize it in the next 60 seconds and it's ready for the next consumer, which is really game changing for the industry, because coming into the market, being a new industry professional, it's very expensive to start and have, your kit, your base is what we like to call it.
So when you're talking on the industry side, I mean, not only if you're going to go into, I guess, you mean, obviously weddings, comes to mind for me and things along those lines. But I mean, obviously we have a very bustling movie industry here. So I'm sure there's, what industries, obviously with this hit?
Yeah, so the biggest industry for us would be a professional artist. This even includes barbershops, because Solis really is about, sanitizing makeup brushes, but it can also sanitize other really delicate tools like, your amazing bristle combs too. So The other makeup industry that we wanted to touch on was actually the Alberta film industry. So we have an opportunity there, and we're really excited to showcase behind the scenes. So
So when you mean behind the scenes, how to like obviously that's I, I guess maybe I mean I was in the movie industry for about 8 or 9 years back in the day, and I have a friend of mine, Mike Glossop, who does a lot of the distribution of movies and things like that in it, and we always hear everybody talk about our movie industry and things along that. So how like when you say we have an opportunity, like how big would that industry be, and how beneficial would it be for you to kind of get into that industry, and then maybe people like, oh, I'm using this machine, and take your company and grow that, throughout that industry in North America. As we all know, LA and New York have big scenes.
well, the Alberta film industry is incredible and it's incredibly robust. And for example, when they filmed The Last of Us here in Calgary, they had 25 makeup artists and doing special effects, and there's a real talent in what they do. And so supporting that back end, allowing professional artists to, properly and in a most, a safe way apply these types of makeup, products on these incredibly big celebrities, and preventing things like cold sores and pink eye and or adverse like skin reactions, which is really key, right? You don't want your favorite celebrity to have, especially with the HD capabilities now, you can see everything. So really supporting those professional artists, doing it in a timely manner, and just keeping everything even on set really sanitized and effective. Also reducing the single-use disposables, which is really key here. We're a beauty industry, but we're also a really big, large contributor to the waste we see in the world today.
Yeah, actually that makes sense. And I know, I mean, that's an interesting point. I mean, when I watch Days of Our Lives every day, yes, I know I do. I'm like, none of them have aged, and I can just see the amount of makeup on them.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes a lot of skill to actually like either age a person or make them look more youthful. So, there's incredibly great formulations, and cosmetic chemists are doing an incredible job in producing these beautiful products. And we just want to have an effective way to actually apply them to our customers.
So why don't we talk a little bit about how the product, I guess let's talk about maybe old school and the the Solis sanitizing way of doing things. And I love the fact that we are going to be limiting waste and things along those lines for your single use products. So explain how how it was done or is being done to what you are going to be doing.
So the traditional method is, your favorite dish soap, and especially for makeup brushes, let's just focus in on that piece there. So you're obviously going to want to use a dish soap or a brush cleaner soap, and it's going to get, manually, you're going to start manually cleaning it. And it takes about 24 hours for it to like, it takes about an hour for you to fully clean your kit with the soap, rinsing isopropyl alcohol. You need 70%. When you're on set, there's other ways of removing oil residue type products on your tools. Then it's a 24-hour wait time. So if you have a client based next day, you have another wedding to do. Your those brushes that you used yesterday are not actually ready to go. So that's the traditional method, is just kind of essentially having duplicates, lots of duplicates of your favorite brushes to use, and then with Solis, what we do is we actually use a UVC technology and a infrared technology that allows you to break the envelope of that virus, or the pathogen that is really harmful to that customer. And so we're able to kind of in a really cool way, prevent it from replicating. And so we're able to actually even remove powdered products, which is one of the big questions that we have with Solis is, yes, it's sanitized, but how do we remove, color? Could I move from shadow to shadow color? And it's like, yes, you can absolutely do that. The one thing that we are currently working on is removing 24-hour long wear foundation, because that stuff is really sticky. So even, your typical, traditional ways of removing product is a little bit more aggressive. So it's really interesting to see it on the skin. It's beautiful. And then just removing it is always a bit tricky with the 24-hour wear. But we're really, really close.
I guess I mean, this is probably a bad question, and maybe you don't want to answer it, but how many people don't sanitize? Like, do they just kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go?
So in professional artistry, I mean, that's really risking it for the biscuit. I mean, you give your one customer, your bride, a cold sore, for example. That person is never going to recommend you. You've lost, the client customer loyalty relationship. You've essentially damaged kind of the industry reputation. So you don't want to be that particular person. However, you know, people that are not professionally trained or self-taught, their sanitation aspect isn't really key and paramount. And what we've seen a lot of times is that there's a lot of misinformation in terms of what is completely sanitized, what are the proper steps, and then how to protect yourself as well, and also your clients.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew I threw that in there as kind of as a wild card. And I'm sure, as you said, there's probably people that are doing it, and again, I mean, it's a referral business, right? I mean, if I totally get it, especially on the wedding side of things, right? If you're going to know, you're going to tell, you're going to say, might makeup, this is the person, and I mean, all you have in this world is your word and your reputation, because once you lose that, it's very hard to get back.
Absolutely, it's hard to kind of rebuild that relationship, right, with that customer. So
No, absolutely. So I know when and again, the regulation side of it, I think that's great. I remember you mentioning it kind of falls like, as the same thing as a dentist. So, I mean, I'm betting probably a lot of people don't even realize that.
yeah, we've been spending a lot of time actually educating our, demographic and really leading with sanitation workshops. We've did one recently, and it was quite informative. We also like to get feedback in terms of, how many of your customers have reported a cold sore. Again, we're going back to the same example, but out of the 1,000 plus, survey questions we've asked, zero, and that's kind of, impossible to get that sort of number. Zero people have reported a cold sore because there's a social stigma around it. So we've wanted to spend some time educating our professional artists, and then having maybe an open conversation and utilizing social platforms like TikTok that allow you to have these tough conversations, but in a really light manner. So we are really committed to, guiding and providing proper tools and practices, and also resources for the customers and our professional artists too.
And I can see the product right behind you.
Yes,
It's right, like it's right there.
yes. This is Solis, and this is the first ever model that we ever did. We call it our ugly baby. I feel like everyone probably watching this is just like, don't say that anymore. Stop it. But yes, I happily call it my ugly baby. We are super proud of the technology that we built. We're so happy that we built it here in Calgary and manufactured here in Calgary. And without the support of, Alberta tech and community in Alberta and Calgary specifically, uh, our ugly baby wouldn't have been born.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. And yes, we have an incredible entrepreneurial and tech community here that, it doesn't matter where you are, what stage you are, there's always somebody to help, willing to give back. And I think you've had a very, to be quite honest, I mean, I don't throw out these accolades, lightly. And you're probably one of the most impressive entrepreneurs that I've ever met. Watching what you've done and how you've grown it, and the different ways that you're like thinking of different different ways of generating revenue, different ways of protecting your brand and making your brand, becoming up with the Solis sanitization kind of standard of cleanliness. I mean, I love a lot of that. And if anybody is listening and looking out, just reach out to Rana, and I mean, it's just watch and just learn from what she's done. And I want you to talk a little bit about this journey that you've been on, because you've seen it. You've gone, tried to use this company, you've had to find somebody to do here, the importance of actually having it manufactured here, not just saying I'm going to mass produce this something else. Creating the jobs and in our community and in our province has been extremely important to you. So why don't you talk a little bit about that entrepreneurial journey?
Oh man, I have to say thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot coming from you. So the community is so expansive, and I didn't even know it existed. So when I first had this idea, I had it back in 2018, and then obviously during COVID, it was a perfect time for me to kind of like leap into the research. And we ordered a bunch of stuff from Amazon. I can only imagine what they thought we were building, because we were building, our own we had our own 3D printer. We were printing out, different types of prototypes, and I kept reaching out because it was really important to be manufactured here in Alberta specifically, if not, then Canada. Really wanting to support the other family businesses or even small businesses. And we reached out to a fellow founder, and they introduced us to a different founder that had actually created a chiropractic type device, and then said, you know what, you should go to Red Deer. I'm like, Red Deer? That's so strange. What a place. And we reached out to Red Deer Polytechnic, and then it was Tanya there, that one of the engineers, she helped us build a really beautiful version of this baby. And and then from there, I kind of I asked for help because I didn't know how else to proceed. I feel like I understand business from a hair care type situation, but what does it look like from actually building hardware and selling it direct to consumer, or going in directly to our suppliers? What was that conversation going to be like? So she was really influential in telling me to kind of start with the Karen incubator, so the Central Regional Alberta, I hope I'm saying this right, incubator. Started there, and then that led me to Platform Calgary and Alberta Innovates, and that was really our journey. And if I hadn't learned to ask for help and or be open to receiving guidance or insight and advice, we wouldn't be here today. I did not do this alone. I certainly did it with a lot of support of the Platform Calgary group and Alberta Innovates, and the Catalyzer program.
Yeah, it's definitely you know, one and I think that's just a prime example of, when you're gonna, as I always say, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. And when you ask for one person, it was like, oh, you should meet this person, you should meet this person. And before you know it, you're gonna be getting introduced to probably 5 to 10 people that are gonna, open up doors to say, hey, there's some great manufacturing here. We got Tangent, we got Gilliam and his team. We've got things that can do in Red Deer. We have, um, so many different types of things that are out there. And I think that is such an important part of a journey. And you can't use that as your advice. I'm just going to say that right now, in case you were preparing for that at the end. You're going to have to use something different. But
Oh
I
boy.
think I think that's been a very valid point of getting out there, asking for help, and understanding who is going to. You never know who you're talking to and which direction, that if you mention something that you need, who they're going to introduce you to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's there's Tangent, there's Exergy, there's different, facets. There's the provincial, the Alberta government and the Canadian government, and just tapping into those resources, and also research grants, or potentially, a digital attraction grants with through Alberta Innovates. Those are all really key pieces that, it's nice to have those and exist. And it's also really amazing to have the technical advisors and behind them leading and guiding our journey throughout that. I promise to come up with something different than asking for help, but usually that's mine. But I appreciate the heads up.
No, for sure. Again, I'm talking with Rana Hyatt, the founder of Solis. The website is yoursolis.com. You can just click on the comments section. It'll take you directly to their website. And yeah, this is just, again, a great conversation. And just a quick recap, if anybody is out there listening, definitely, reach out to Rana, and it's such an incredible story of what she's been doing. So I want to kind of talk about, the growth that you have planned, and a little bit of that. You kind of started off, and even on our conversation yesterday, you come back, you were just in Japan, and you had all these, holy shit, I got these aha moments, we'll call it. I was like, I think we can do this. We think we can do this. I think we can do this. So, as a founder, I know you have your one focus, and we've talked about certain things that you're going to go into. But how much time, now that you've got some other ideas, do you think that I'm going to implement this? How am I going to implement this? And how am I going to, spread my time as a founder into, each of these new potential revenue streams?
Yeah, so one of the key things that I get from my advisors is that, as entrepreneurs, we have many ideas. And so they always tell you, Rana, you need to focus, stay focused. And one of the key things about going to Japan and understanding, even the intricacies of just wrapping, simply wrapping, there's a level of perfection, but also elegance that comes with it. And so something that we really love to model here at Solis as well. So Japan was incredible. These trips are really great and wonderful in just understanding how consumers are consuming cosmetic products and utilizing different types of techniques and also tools. So that was really good. We were talking yesterday, you and I, about a potential opportunity where we are actually providing a service. And so that service really honing in on, again, back to focus, is to pick only a few, just to kind of do some testing. Customer discovery is what they like to call it. It's really key for us. And it also, bouncing these ideas off with, talented advisors like yourself and your team and your group is really important to us, because then we can, it's almost like stress testing the thought or the business model. And is it actually even something that we can do today? Or is it something that we can do in 5 years when, the team is a bit bigger or the technology is a little bit more advanced? So we're not being the ones to discover it, right?
No, absolutely. And I know, we talked about having that, you having an actual salon and people to test your ideas on. And I mean, obviously the example that we used was, it was probably one of the most important things that Waitwell, like one of, and what Shannon and they have done, and been able to test something, in house. Like that is very, very, I mean, a lot of people have to go out there and say, oh, I gotta find an energy company. I gotta find this. I gotta find that pilot. Yet you've got one in your own back door. And that is so important. Like it's such a unique situation for you to leverage. So how is that, being able to leverage your family business in your idea?
It's really good and bad. I feel like, telling my parents that, I'm leveraging their business, it's like I feel like my dad in particular would be like, oh yeah, I did that. When you have a great idea and you're in a family business, it's like that idea is collectively to the most senior person. They're like, I thought of this. It's kind of sometimes watching Success and this show is really interesting, because it's like, that is so how it works. But yeah, leveraging the family business is really key. You get different types of customer demographics. Also, your family is going to tell you the honest truth, as hard as it may sound to you, or even, you're able to kind of really get into the nitty gritty of it, because you're having to implement either quickly or do it effectively when you have family. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they're not listening in terms of what you would like as a process, or sometimes they'll spice things up and throw in their own process. And you're like, okay, let's stress test it. And sometimes they will come up with really great ideas, or even, cut out steps that you may think you need in terms of the customer experience, or what you don't need. But I think it's a really, really great. It's kind of having, what do they call? Great volunteers, as we used to be when we were teenagers working the front desk. Now I get to utilize my parents as amazing Solis volunteers.
Well, again, I think that, again, that's so important to have. It's very unique, and I'm sure we can have a whole conversation on some of the family issues that come up during these questions potentially.
Yeah, there's sometimes, our family dinners on Sundays, when we talk about stuff, the only time that we ever really have, heated conversations are when it comes to business. So I feel like my poor husband has to experience that. He just sits very quietly, like, okay, so do you guys want like real advice or third party advice? Or we're just like, let's just keep this family only, and refrain from talking about, business altogether.
Yeah, one of my favorite guests is Dr. Dan McKinnon, who came on, probably 300 or so episodes ago, talking about separating the boardroom table from the kitchen table, and he had some really, really good advice and some really good stories as well.
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot of great stories, and I mean, I feel like it's a life, it's a full life for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So again, I'm talking with Rana Hyatt, the founder of Solis, yoursolis.com. Click on the website in the comments section. So let's talk about what's next. Let's maybe a little bit of a short-term vision here, maybe the next year or so, and then maybe a 3 or 5 year vision.
So what's next for us in the next few months is we are ready to launch and fill out our pre-order sales, which is really, really exciting. In the next 5 years, what we're trying to do is not only sanitize, but also analyze. So we're building this really, patent protected technology where we're able to sort of detect the types of pathogens that are on your tools. And not only that, but really excitedly kind of detecting types of ingredients interactions and how they're interacting with your skin, because we all know everyone is very unique when it comes to types of products and formulations, and even just geographically where we are, how they interact with our skin, and how do we reduce the single-use waste disposables, and just kind of being part of that big mission and big goal here is living well and letting it start with your clean tools and end with your consumption.
Oh, I love that. I mean, and again, it's the short term goals are always sometimes turn into medium term goals. But I mean, I've watched you grow over the last year and change, and it has been extremely impressive. And again, I can't say this enough. Like, you just your inspiration for many of us. And I know that you can't get out there because you're focusing on your business and things like that. But when you turn this into a global empire, I can't wait for you to have your own podcast and share your story and how you accomplished everything. It's going to inspire so many more people.
I really appreciate that. Maybe you'll be my first guest.
Oh, I'm in. I am in. Oh, goodness. But yeah, I mean, again, for anybody that's out there, just go to the website, click on your Solis in the comments section, and it'll take you directly there. I'm always sad when these conversations come to an end, because there's so much more we can talk about and dive into and explain. But as I said before, you're not allowed to use that piece of advice. So if you had that one planned and you blurted it out a little earlier, now you're going to have to, start thinking of something new. But Rana, if you had one piece of advice for a startup founder or entrepreneur, what would that be?
Pay it forward. So we always ask for advice. And as we grow as founders, we learn things, and that, definitely pay it forward to the advisors that you had, or, the new founders that you're experiencing. And the other thing is, sometimes step away from your business. It's really good when we were part of the Alberta Catalyzer, and you have other founders having other concerns and other kind of like speed bumps that they had, just troubleshooting with them, kind of stepping outside of your business to support another, startup is really, I found it incredibly insightful, because it just allowed you to troubleshoot your own stuff in the background. So I say definitely pay it forward, and I can't wait for Calgary to be the next big thing.
Yeah, we are making our way. We've got a very unique ecosystem, and every time I speak all over North America, people are fascinated by what's happening in here. And even today, I've got a meeting. Calgary Economic Development said, "Hey, can you meet with these people?" And we're going out for lunch with them about moving a fund here and potentially their company here. And they're trying to pick between Calgary and Toronto. And I think we've possibly convinced them. So,
I could do anything to support that. I would totally be that. Just let me know. Calgary's number one.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's definitely something that I think goes to show of everything that you've just said over the last 30 minutes. What makes our community great is the help and the support. And even as you said, sometimes you just have to step away and maybe go through one accelerator or incubator to kind of learn something new and learn something and meet other founders that are going through your same thing. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, I agree. Stepping outside of yourself and your business is really sometimes important, and also spend time with family. Well, again, not talking about business, but yeah, be present with them and have some fun.
Well, that's a key. You got to have some fun while you're doing it, and making sure that you do step away and take some me time and do the things that you love to do and be passionate about, and that doesn't suffer, because a company is only as healthy as its founder.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rana, thank you so much today for coming on and sharing your story, sharing your knowledge, and as my tagline also goes, keep on being awesome. I'm glad that we've become friends, and that we were able to talk and have these awesome sessions every now and then. It's been you inspire the peer guidance team as much as hopefully we help.
You definitely help, for sure.
And again, if anybody does need that help, again, every Tuesday from 10 to 1, you get free one-on-one sessions. There's anything that you can talk about, growth strategy, IP, anything, just reach out to, Calgary events at osler.com, set up your appointment. And yeah, and again, don't forget to get out there, meet people, network. And again, Rana, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being awesome. And I hope everybody enjoys their snowy, windy Wednesday and makes the most of it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope everybody has a great day. Bye-bye.